Here, let me go back to the 4 myths, right? The 4 reasons why we can't do this. They're kind of funny if you think about them. But the first one is, you gave up your land. You didn't want all that timber. You didn't want all that gold that you have, all the minerals that you have. You didn't want that. You just didn't want it. You gave it up. Because in your Enabling Act, it says right there, forever disclaim all right and title to the unappropriated public lands, period, as if there were one, but there's not. And they don't read the rest of the sentence that says, until title thereto shall be extinguished. And they don't bother to look east of Colorado and all the states east of Colorado that have word for word the same language in their Enabling Acts. But they make that statement, you gave up your land. The second myth is, you can't manage your own lands. Now, Arkansas and Missouri, they can, but Nevada. That's the argument. You can't manage your own land. God, if you manage your own land, you might manage it for maximum combustion and have 1,000 trees per acre in your forest and burn them down. Where did I hear that? You know? You can't manage your own lands. Really? We just had a hearing in our Natural Resources Committee last week with our state land managers, our forester, our school trust lands, and others. They said, of course we can. Think about, just think the low-hanging fruit. Just imagine that you get 100% of your mineral lease royalty instead of 46 or 47%. Just imagine that you could control access to your lands and get 100% of your mineral lease royalty instead of 46 or 47%. Hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of dollars right there. Just in that alone. North Dakota was actually made a state after Nevada. North Dakota and Utah were made states at about the same time. 5 years apart, the Enabling Acts. Word for word identical. North Dakota's got 20,000 jobs just looking for people. North Dakota just put $1.2 billion into school building infrastructure. They were already at the national average in per pupil funding. They just added $3,700 per pupil above the national average in per pupil funding. Utah, we're $3,700 below the national average. It would take us $2.2 billion to get to average. Take us another $2.2 billion to catch up with our neighbor in North Dakota. Some people say, oh, you just need to try harder and tax more. Well, you've had that discussion this morning. That would be doubling income tax, assuming you don't kill the economy. It would be raising corporate taxes by 1,000%, assuming you don't kill the economy. Illinois and California have tried that, and we see the results. Why the difference? Why does it matter? Certainly education equality is one big reason. Rob Bishop does a great job. This is also on the website. Congressman Rob Bishop will point out that the states that have the hardest time raising education dollars, where all the red is on the map.
And I want you to look carefully at this map. See where the red is, and then I also want you to look at this particular map. States in red are the states that have the hardest time funding their education system. That is the slowest growth in education. I hope you realize there is a similarity between the two particular maps, because the bottom line is individuals in the West pay more in state and federal taxes than in the East. There are more kids in the West. We have larger class sizes in the West. Our education system has a harder time to fund itself in the West because this map prohibits us from developing our property taxes, developing our energy royalties, developing high-paying jobs with income taxes, so kids are hurt in the West. I'm sorry, this map and this situation means that kids are underfunded. Can I get 50
seconds?
Gentleman is recognized for 30
seconds.
Kids
in the West, their education is underfunded, their teachers' salaries are depressed, and my retirement is threatened because of this particular situation. When this changes, there will be no more need for pills.
Some of our counties, some of your counties have less than 5% taxable land. That leads us to the third myth, right? The third myth is, well, this land belongs to all of us. Like, okay, well, let me know, commissioners, when we can start sending tax notices to Central Park East. And all of us can pay for police and fire and sanitation and education. If it belongs to all of us should be carrying the burden. If it belongs to all of us, why the arbitrary line when the promises are the same? Why doesn't Oklahoma belong to all of us and yet Nevada belongs to not Nevadans? You control so much less of Nevada than the BLM and the Forest Service does. Goes into Republican form of government in the Constitution that we can speak about at another time. But if it belongs to all of us and the promises are the same, either they need to give theirs back or they got to keep their promise. The last myth that people will bring up is, well, this is clearly unconstitutional. It's just clearly unconstitutional, no debate. Well, aren't you quite the Supreme Court of one? Because the Supreme Court has said Congress does not have, recently, unanimously just said Congress doesn't have the authority to change those uniquely sovereign acts at statehood. The uniquely sovereign acts at statehood, the same as ours, as the states east of Colorado, say you have to dispose of the land. If you go back to the history on Article 4, Section 3, the authority of Congress was only to dispose of the land and make regulations for disposing of the land.